Hey guys, welcome to another topical video. This one I want to talk to you about carbohydrates, why they're important, why you need them, and basically why you shouldn't avoid them. So I'm not going to go into massive amounts of detail. I want to keep it slightly shorter than the last video if I can, and simplified, so for everyone to understand. So basically, what's a carbohydrate? A carbohydrate is a macronutrient, one of three, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and it's one of the body's main sources of fuel. The two main sources are carbohydrates and fats, and to a lesser extent, protein, depending on what sort of athletic sports you're doing. They're found in grains, fruits, vegetables, dairy products like milk. They are a sugar, a starch, or a fibre. A lot of people don't know that a fibre is technically a carbohydrate. It is a carbohydrate, sorry, not technically. Fibre is a carbohydrate. And they are essential for the proper function of the body. They can only be attained through diet, so we can't produce them naturally like certain amino acids. You have to get it through nutrition, and each gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. Right, that's the basics, that's the gist of it. So now we'll go into a little bit more detail. So if you see my eyes keep dotting down, it's because I've got all these notes again. Like I said in the last video, there's no way I'm going to remember all this off the top of my head. So how does your body break down carbohydrates? Right, when you eat carbs, your body breaks them down into the sugars. The sugars are then absorbed into your bloodstream. The pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is needed to remove the sugar from the bloodstream and put it into the cells, and that is where the sugar is used as a source of energy. All right. Are all carbohydrates broken down the same? There are two types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. The difference is the speed in which they're broken down. So simple carbohydrates are broken down much quicker. They are shorter chain molecules, so they take sort of less effort for the body to break them down, and they can be used as a more immediate source of energy. So, just before you go for a run or a sprint or something like that, you might have something simple like a handful of sweets, for a shorter run. Or a workout, or like a gym workout, like a bodybuilding workout, a handful of Skittles, boss your workout. So where are we? They are a more immediate source of energy. Examples of these are fruits, milk, like lactase, the sugar in milk, and refined processed sugars that, like I just said, Skittles, sweets, table sugar, things like that. Now, the other source is complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are a longer chain. They are, longer chain molecules. They're broken down a lot more slowly and released as a much more slower, more stable form of energy. So when you have like long distance running, you would want something that's a complex carb. Well, to be fair, with long distance running, you probably want both. You'd want simple sugars to start off with to give you that immediate burst, and you would at the same time you would want like a complex carbohydrate, so that kicks in later on in the stages of running. They're broken down slower for a more sustainable, for a more stable source of energy. And examples of complex carbohydrates are things like grains, vegetables, beans, pulses. They're both broken down by the body and converted into glucose or blood sugar. So the difference between the two is the speed in which they're broken down. Ultimately, they end up pretty much the same. So the topic of this video is like why you need them, why why you shouldn't cut out carbs. Carbs have been demonized in the past. Even people that I've spoken to recently have said that I've always been frightened and put off of things like bread. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I've just always been told that it's bad. There's different ways of looking at it. Like, carbs are not bad. There's nothing wrong with them. A lot of people believe they are the cause of like obesity and weight gain related illnesses, things like that, type 2 diabetes and stuff like that. They're not. All right, that is to do with calories in, calories out. It's been scientifically proven to be false. As long as you burn the same calories or more calories than you're taking in, your weight will either maintain or go down. It doesn't matter what you do to an extent. So if you ate, like, say you burn 2,000 calories a day, you eat 2,500 grams of carbs, you're going to gain weight. If you eat 2,500 grams of fat, you're going to gain calories of fat, and calories of carbs, sorry, not grams. You're going to gain weight. It's a simple case of calories in versus calories out. Carbs shouldn't be demonized. They are a really efficient source of fuel. So carbs versus fat for fuel, like keto has become popular nowadays. It's a trend. It's a trend like the Atkins diet was, and slimming or stuff like that. It's a trend. I got a sports nutrition book from 1996, and it talks about ketones. So it's nothing new. It's just become trendy. So, like, and all these low carb diets used to be trendy. If you cut out carbs, the weight will drop off. The weight will drop off because you're cutting out a large amount of calories, but also you're gonna be pretty tired. You're not gonna have a great deal of energy, and also it's like really insufficient for your body's performance and ability to thrive. If you cut them out, you're cutting out like a key nutrient that your body needs. Carbs versus fat for a fuel source, there's no evidence to suggest that fat is a more efficient fuel source for exercise performance. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. I think there's far more evidence to support the fact that carbohydrates are the most efficient fuel source. So, when we talk about things like keto, again, people say, I burn fat. Like, I've taught my body to burn fat more efficiently. Well, of course you have, because you're only feeding it fat. If you only feed your body carbs, it's only going to burn carbs. If you only feed your body fat, it's only going to burn fat, protein, whatever. Your body will use what is bioavailable as the fuel source. Your body is generally pretty good at burning things at a certain rate. So it'll burn like carbohydrates first and fat a bit slower. But like generally, if you're exercising quite hard to begin with, it's pretty efficient at using fat and carbs together, like almost like a 50-50. And then when you get into the more endurance side of things, that's when the body will start to change, and when you take in oxidization, then it becomes a different matter, and your body burns fuels in different ways. But for the basis of this, for the simplicity of this, like carbs are converted into energy faster, so you will use the carbs first. And if you fill yourself up with carbs, it's going to burn the carbs better. The carbs have always been like a go-to fuel source for athletes. If you just look at things like electrolyte drinks and stuff like that, the carbohydrate-based, you don't have a fat-based electrolyte drink. It's not fat, is not as an efficient fuel source. Anyway, so that's more the athleticism side of things. So when we're talking about sort of general everyday living, carbohydrates are very important. So the bottom line is, like, you shouldn't and you don't need to cut them from your diet. If you want to lose weight, go into a calorie deficit. I generally, personally, I'll keep protein at a similar level. If I'm on maintenance, I'll have protein that's just, for example, 150 grams and like 200 grams of carbs, and then the rest I'll make up in fat. This is an example, okay? And then if I want to lose a bit of weight, I would up the protein a little bit. So if I had 140 or 150, whatever I said, say 140, I'd maybe up the protein to 150 and then take like 10 grams off the carbs. Well, maybe a little bit more because I wouldn't be in a deficit, but you know what I mean? I'd take like 20 grams off the carbs and then add the 10 grams onto the protein. So I would up the protein slightly and I would lower the carbs slightly. I would never cut out the carbs. My fat generally tends to stay the same. I only consume just enough for my body to run well. You know, I don't... Being plant-based, you'll find that a lot of plant-based products and things like that are, you know, like I said in the previous video, you don't often find lean protein sources, so everything will be a fat or carb. So, you know, if my fat intake, I think the minimum I need is like something like 46 grams. I generally tend to be around there, sometimes a little bit over. But my fat will stay the same, protein will go up, carbs will go down if I'm losing weight. If I'm maintaining, I just, you know, you just go into a deficit. You don't need to massively eradicate the carbs. You need carbs to help your body maintain protein efficiently. So the body breaks down protein quicker without carbohydrates. So if you are trying to lose weight, you need to try and like preserve your muscle as well, and prevent your body from tucking into if you're in a calorie deficit, prevent your body from tucking into your protein and your muscle for a fuel source. So you need to maintain a certain amount of carbs to prevent your body from doing that. And also, and finally, like if you cut out carbs, you'll struggle to get enough fiber. Like I said at the start, fiber is a carbohydrate source, but also a lot of the things where we get our carbs from, like beans and vegetables, they contain fiber, which again we need for our body to run efficiently and effectively. Again, you cut out carbs, you run the risk of not having sufficient fiber, cause all sorts of problems internally with your bowels and things like that. You know, that it's all you need a good balance. You need a little bit of everything to maintain optimum health. So, you know, you need your protein, you need your fat, you need your carbohydrates. All this keto stuff, low carb stuff, things like that, it's all right. You might lose a bit of weight, but you suffer for it later. You know, your body's not going to run efficiently. You might start getting tired. You might start finding you have some like sort of like IBS related issues, constipation because there's no fiber, things like that. So, you know, but, you know, my main message of this is don't demonize the carbohydrates. You need the carbohydrates. You can lose weight whilst consuming carbohydrates. Like I said, it's calories in versus calories out. It's pretty common knowledge nowadays, but I'm still surprised. Every now and then I get someone ask me a question or speak to me about weight loss, and I'm still surprised that they don't know about it. So I thought I'd make this little video on carbs. Again, I tried to keep it simple. I always ramble a bit, that's the way I talk. But let me know if there's anything more like this that you want to see. I'll probably do one on fats as well, because I've done a protein one. Well, I did a plant-based protein one. I've done a carbohydrate one. Might as well do one of fats to complete the macronutrient trio. And you know, I'll keep going on and on into vitamins, minerals, things like that. But you guys, let me know what you think. Leave some feedback in the comments. All feedback is appreciated. Thank you very much for watching.